You heard it right here, right down from the beach.
The new ivory is mammoth.
What do you guys want to know? I've done way too much research on dinosaurs.
Almost a larger-than-life figure.
There's no reason at all to think it was made by aliens. Drop down and go swimming as fast as you can. All these big giants give me a kiss and tell me they don't.
The crowd, just the pot, the loudness, the excitement, the electricity.
I don't know if I can take your little Canadian destroyer.
Future is scary, but it's also wonderful.
Welcome everybody to the newest episode of a podcast where genuine meets uncensored, the Unscriptify. We are thrilled to announce that 13.8 billion years of our shared history have culminated in being joined by an amazing guest today. Among few in the industry, she can be called a legend, an icon, a lady who opened the cabinet of curiosities and let the unusual out, Miss Lesley Gracie, master distiller of Hendrick Gin Distillery. Miss Gracie, it's such an honor. Thank you for being here. And how are you doing?
Very well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be in this broadcast with you. So really looking forward to the tricky questions I'm sure you're going to throw at me.
Yeah. Well, for the beginning, I would take you back to the 2000 when you met with Charles Gordon and where everything began. Can you take us back how it happened, how Hendrick's Gin came to life?
Yes, in the late 90s, Charlie came and decided he wanted a new gin and asked us to make one, but he had a lot of different ground rules for his new gin. So he wanted something that was totally different in terms of flavour and aroma to anything that was available on the back bar at the time. Plus, he also wanted it made in a totally different way as well. Now, back in 1966, he'd bought 2 stills at an auction in London, and he'd moved them up to the Girvan site here, which had not that long been opened as a whiskey distillery beforehand. And he put these 2 stills into one of the old buildings. And for his new gin, he wanted both of these stills used. Now, these are totally different, okay? One is a small pot still that looks very much like the stills that you would use in a whiskey distillation. And we call it the Bennett still because it was made by a company called Bennett. And she was actually made back in 1860. So this year, she's 164 years old, works as well as the day that she was built. And as I tell everybody that will listen, when I retire, I'm taking her with me, right? She's mine, okay? So I think if I tell everybody, then when it disappears, it's not theft, is it? I'm just fulfilling a promise. So he wanted the Bennett still used, and he also had bought a Carter head still. So this is a still that's got the long rectification neck on it. And he wanted both of these types of still used because he knew that the flavour profile that you'd get from the 2 different types of still would be totally different. And then he wanted those 2 combined, which would give us something totally different to what was available anywhere else at the time. And he wanted something with much more depth and complexity. So after lots of experimentation, we eventually came up with the Hendrick's flavour as we have it now. So, and it's exactly the same as it is today as it was when we first did it back in the late 90s. So we've got lots of different elements that you would typically have had in gin at that point. So we added elements that are in the spice, the green and the floral regions. And so it is totally different. But people seem to like it, so we seem to be okay. And then, of course, we've got all of the different variants that we've launched since then. And all of these are original Hendricks at the core, but each of the variants have got different elements added, different extracts, just to give us the different flavours. And so when you look across all of the variants that we have, they are all completely different. They all sit in a different place on the flavour wheel. So they're all good fun. And every one of them has got a separate story behind it. And, we have like the one that we launched this year, the Grand Cabaret, that was based on different information that I was reading from papers back in sort of the 17 and 1800s, looking at how the fruit spirits were produced and why they were produced. So that's why that one came along. But the new one that we'll be launching in March 25 is based on a trip that myself and Ali, who was the global brand ambassador for Hendrick's, did to the desert. Now we were walking through the desert, there was all the sand, and then we eventually came across this oasis with all of the different plants growing in it. And as you sort of stepped into the Oasis, the smell in there was just incredible. You know, you're getting the sort of the really bright, fresh character. You're getting the herbal elements. You're getting like citrus elements. So it's those flavors that are built into this new variant of Hendrick's. And when you take the top off it and smell it, that's exactly what that Oasis smelled like when we walked into that. So we'd gone from basically smelling nothing when you're out on the sand to getting all of this intensity of flavor that and aroma that was just amazing. And that is what is in this bottle. So, I mean, you say all of the different liquids we do have all got a different story, but this one is different again. So it's good, and I hope you like it.
Hope as well. So for Oasium, you always have something spectacular to share about your trips. So what is the thing that struck you the most during this trip to the desert?
It was just the complete difference from walking in the sand to actually get into this very small area where all these plants were growing, and the intensity of the aroma that we came across as we walked into that area was just incredible. You know, it was just so refreshing after being outside, you know, the area with just the sand in it, that you got all of those amazing aromas coming from the plants, and it was just totally refreshing that these aromas just made it so intense and everything. It was just amazing to step into.
Do you obviously now you talked about an experience that you felt that inspired you for Oasis. Do you try with Oasis as with your previous obviously different tastes and that to sort of share that experience that you have almost in a bottle, if you will?
Yeah, I think that's what I try to do. That so that when people, you know, take the top off it and smell it, they'll be smelling what we smelt when we were in that area. Yeah. And you know, it's getting that experience over to people, hopefully with them just taking the top off and smelling it, that they get to appreciate what we appreciated at that point in time. Yeah.
Tell me this, with regards to that, obviously the drink is the most important, the liquid that you will experience, but also Hendrix has I think very beautiful, you know, bottles and branding and this and that. Do you personally, as someone who obviously deals first with liquid, do you also care how it is presented from the outside, like how bottle looks, how will look from someone needs to catch the eye of it, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, when generally the marketing will do the bottle label and everything like that. But I mean, I have to say, right at the beginning, when we first started with Hendrix, you know, 25 years ago now, unbelievably, 25 years. But when we, you know, we got to the liquid and we were happy with it and Charlie signed it off, yes, that was it. And the marketing guy bent down and put the bottle on the table. Now, to be honest, at that point, we were horrified because we were expecting something tall, clear, and elegant. And they produced this black, dumpy bottle. And we were like, what? But now, you know, when you walk into anywhere, you know, immediately if they've got Hendrix, because it just stands out. It is so iconic. And so, you know, the bottle itself is amazing now. So when the marketing, you know, I give them the story and all that kind of thing, and then they build the labels and everything like that. And they do an amazing job. We have an amazing team from that point of view as well. So I do the liquid and then just pass on my thoughts and what I've done, but they come up with the liquids and the colors and everything like that. So they're a great team, a really great team.
You are currently in the Gin Palace, right?
I am indeed, yes. Yes, and you can see behind me here, this is our cabinet of curiosities that I always talk about. So that's got all of our different variants and lots of experiments that are still secret live in there as well. So I've done lots of experiments with other things. So there's lots of different liquids in there that we could potentially pull out and use in the future as well.
Yeah. It's so interesting that the cabinet of curiosities is not just a term; it's a real physical.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely it is. Yes, yes.
So among all because you probably, as a lot of creators of anything, of any medium, included spirits, consider every gin some sort of your child. Could you choose between your childs who is maybe your favorite? Is it Grand Cabaret, Oasium, Floradora, etc.?
I like them all, but the one that I really do like the story of, and I really like the liquid of, is the Amazonia, which is the one that's only available in duty free. And for that one, I went to the southwest of Venezuela and we're living in the rainforest with a tribe that had only been non-nomadic for a couple of generations, an amazing group of people. But when when you take the top off that Amazonia, that is exactly what the rainforest smells like. And as soon as I smell that, I'm back in Venezuela again, because sort of smell does that, doesn't it? It fetches back all of the memories. And so with the Amazonia, I get all of those memories coming, flooding back, the amazing people, but the amazing surroundings as well. And also the very strange insects that they have as well. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's a nice one.
Do you obviously now that you talk about those different tastes and phases, that sort of, I believe this is the 8th limited edition of this one. Do you when you create, is this like a creation where you say in the room, we are gonna create the next? We are set out to create next limited edition, next new taste, or is it a little bit spontaneous process?
Yeah, it's more of a spontaneous process because, I can be reading something like before I did the cabaret. I was reading all of these old distillation papers from the sort of 1700s, 1800s about the fruit spirits, how they were produced, why they were produced. And that kind of set me off thinking about, what I could do with that. The one before that, the Floradora, just sitting in the garden and just watching the insects and seeing the plants that they were really interested in. And then just investigating, what the insects do. And, came reading, and then it came to the point where it was saying, if it wasn't for these insects, our species wouldn't survive because they pollinate well over 30% of the food that we eat. And then the Neptunia based on, I walk up and down the sea front with my dogs regularly. And when I was a kid, I lived in a city. So a day at the coast was a real treat. And now I spend a lot of time walking on the beach with the dogs, and the distilleries next to the coast, and the smell at the sea, edge of the sea is so different to what it is 100 yards inland. So it can be anything. It can be just something, somebody says to me and I start to think about, or just a different situation I'm in, or whatever. So the ideas can come from absolutely anywhere. There's some of the weird things I've got tucked in the cabinet there, are just ideas that have come up, or somebody said something, or I've thought something. So the ideas can come from absolutely anywhere. So, and I'm very lucky that I just get the opportunity to play with things and, get them to a bit, where I think, that's the nice liquid, and, that's it kind of thing. So it's good fun. Right. I don't have a job. I just play. That's all I do. Fine.
Would you say that Oasium specifically, is it for somebody who is already a gin enthusiast, maybe already especially a fan of Hendrix, or could someone that isn't exactly a, say, usual gin drinker can also experience it?
Yeah, I think anybody could, because when you drink it, say with tonic, when you taste it and, with the ice and the cucumber, it's so refreshing because that is the kind of element that's built into it. So anybody just drinking it with tonic would get real refreshment from it. And then, of course, our wonderful global brand ambassador, Ali, has developed a couple of cocktails as well. So there's like the Oasium Fizz, where he's adding in grapefruit, lime, sugar, and soda water. And then he's also done a Pegu Club, which is a sort of twist on excuse me a minute. Excuse me. and a twist on a sort of margarita. So he's adding like orange liqueur and lime and sugar syrup and bitters. So it's, different, but it's very, very refreshing. So I think anybody, even if they didn't typically drink gin, would like these drinks as well. And agree. I mean, it's great with tonic as well. So, I think it would cut across people that do drink gin and also people that don't, because it's got that real refreshment quality to it.
Yeah, also with, I mean, Hendrick's is still small batch handcrafted gin. And, with the growth demand, you have a need for another Bennett. And not just for the reason that you will take the original one. So is it true that you were so detailed about the manufacturing process of Bennett replica? It prolonged things a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we first started, we had one Bennett and one Carter head. But the way that we operate the Bennett, we have a steep time where we put all the dry botanicals into the still and leave them to steep for 14 hours minimum. So as the volume for the Hendricks was going up, we were needing more capacity from the Bennett type still. So we put in another Bennett type still that's an exact copy of the original. So we had like 2 Bennetts and a Carter head. And then in 2018, we were needing more capacity because, again, volumes were going up. So we had another 2 Bennett types and a Carter head built. So we've already got like sort of 4 Bennetts, 2 Carter heads. And we're just in the process at the moment of putting in another 2 Bennetts and a Carter head as well, because the volumes are going up. So, but we are very, very particular to make sure that what these new stills produce is exactly the same as the originals produce. So we do lots of commissioning work in terms of, checking at each point every sort of 20 minutes, half an hour through the run to make sure that the flavor profile is exactly the same. Sorry. Oh, excuse me.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, we're very particular, but we get there. Make sure we get there. So.
Yeah. Or perhaps a final one from me. Obviously, now you can speak on Oasium specifically, but regularly in your makings. I doubt that when you are set out to make this new drink, you get it the first time. The first batch is the real one. So how many batches did you spill out before the real one?
Well, when we
got
first started, obviously everything was laboratory scale, and then we had to go from laboratory to full scale. So, that took us, a while because it's slightly different. But when we come to do the new, like the Oasium, then we do everything at lab scale. But we've got the base gin because everything is Hendrick's original at the core. And I do have another still that I will do any other distillates on different botanicals that go into them, because the 6 stills that we currently have do the same thing every day. We don't change what they do. We just do other distillates or extracts and add them to the core. So we just make sure everything's exactly the same. But when we're doing it from lab scale, then it can take me 2 or 3 months to get to the point where everybody is happy with it. So it's not just at one and that's it. It's adjusting things and playing with things. And then when I get to a certain point, then I'll speak to Ali Martin, who will take that and look at it in the cocktails. And, do I need to slightly adjust the liquid to make sure that it's good in all of the cocktails as well? So we work between us to get to the actual final recipe. So.
Yeah. So I believe that this conversation could go on for hours. Obviously, but you have a busy day ahead of you, and we have our obligations. So before we wrap up everything, traditional and the Unscriptify podcast is because, of course, podcast comes from Montenegro, and it wants to share a little bit of culture with the world. So we have a quote on our language that Luca will translate to English for our listeners and for you.
The quote I picked is from our war veteran and hero Veljko Vlahović, and on our language it says: "Lako je hodati po prošlosti, hrabrost je zaviriti u budućnost." And on English it would translate to: It is easy to walk in the past. It is courage to look into the future.
That's a
Yeah,
really
so-
good saying that. That's nice. Yeah.
Maybe for the future,
Yeah.
limit. Who knows?
Yeah. That's a really thought provoking sentence, that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. Ah.
Miss Gracie, I hope you enjoyed your time with us today.
I hope you've got everything you need. If you need anything else, just let us know. But thank you so much for inviting me.
We stay genuine, uncensored and unscripted, and we always will, as we have to order our usual. Share us and subscribe us, and stay tuned until the next Wednesday.
IKUZO!